Okay, so for this assignment, we were supposed to look at all the documents of this week and find 5 questions that we have over the shoulder and ask our preceptor or 2 people what they are and just kind of talk about it. So I asked the questions of like what are the primary movers and the prime stabilizers of the shoulder. So the information we got, we didn't really touch base on it. So with my preceptor and one of the other students, we talked about how the prime stabilizers, I guess, where he was talking about, he's a little confused on the question because I probably didn't ask the best questions, but he said traps, rhomboids, like those are like stabilizers. And like stabilizers are like all overhead and they're like scap stabilizers. And then the student was saying how she thinks of them as like the bigger muscles are the movers and the smaller are the stabilizers. I don't know, kind of went through all of the shoulder after that point, and kind of just broke down the shoulder in general for me. Just one by one, each muscle group, each joint, each ligament, like totally broke down the shoulder. So it kind of helped me understand like the movements, and with my exercise background, it made more sense to me if I was actually doing the movement and like seeing the connection between like one point where it connects at one point and then where it connects to at the other point, like of each muscle or each ligament. Another question I had were what are all the movements of the shoulder? Kind of did that you just have adduction, abduction, internal rotation, external. I feel like we're gonna touch base. I didn't ask him that one. I asked him what are the movement of the scapulothoracic joint, and I actually really didn't know what the scapulothoracic joint was. So he was telling me how it was underneath the scapula and in between the scapula and the ribs. And then he was saying how it's the rotation, retraction, protraction, like just the up and down, side to side movement of the scapula. It helps with all those. So I also just asked the question because it was a whole article in this assignment of what was scapular dyskinesis, so I could just figure it out. So I read the article, and I found that the definition of dyskinesis is the alteration of normal scapular kinematics. And then kinesis is motion. It's a general term that reflects the loss of normal control of the scapular motion. So really, I just think it's like an alteration of each scapula. Like one might be just a little bit outturned, depending on what the athlete or person has been doing. I think you would see it a lot in like baseball, anything with overhand sports, or yeah. And so I also found it was an altered scapular motion or position, both decreased linear measures of the subacromial space. Yeah, so we actually we not diagnosed, but it's just a little bit of a scapular dyskinesis. In my clinical site, we have one baseball player with this. And so we just kind of tried to use soft tissue to kind of calm down all of his muscles before it gets any worse than it already is getting. I didn't get to answer this question, but is scapular dyskinesis an overview of all the shoulder injuries? So that's a question that I would like to ask when we touch base on the shoulder. I don't know, this was an interesting assignment for me because, I don't know, we haven't touched base on it, so it's kind of hard to get all the, I didn't really know what, like, the PowerPoints and stuff were trying to tell me yet, so it was easy to ask questions, but then for someone to answer them, it was kind of harder because they didn't really know, like, the background of my questions. But yeah, that's about it.